Hello, my CNC brothers and sisters. Hey, welcome to another Wednesday CNC Hangout. And tonight we got another special guest, someone we've had on a couple times before, Cody Elkins from Cadence Manufacturing, the guy that has designed all the Jenny series CNC bits. So this is a good day to be asking about CNC bits. We can talk about how they're made and some of that stuff that it's just kind of interesting stuff to learn and whatever else we want to talk about. But yeah, so it's good to have him on board. Before we do that, we are going to say hello to a few people out there. So who we got here on the list? There's Ron and Brooks. Hey, Brooks, Liberty the Creator. I love the little name she gave herself. Liberty and Julianne are in the background. I'll bring them out in a second. Then we'll bring Cody on. And DCC Online. Gary Lynn, what's going on, my friend? We had a chit chat on the phone the other day, and I see you made the first in the question queue, my friend. So we got you covered. I got a bit of a scratchy throat tonight, so I'll be taking lots of drinks of water. And Pierre, Frank, Jack in the shop, what's going on? Stefan, that is a Stefan, yeah. And Ronnie, Don from New Jersey. What part of New Jersey, my friend? I used to live in New Jersey. I lived just outside of Summit, New Jersey, northern New Jersey when I was a kid. Hey, John, and YouTube user, whoever that is. WC Meyer, Dean, Midnight Sun, Woodwork, and David, and all the rest of you. So, okay. So it's a cool night tonight. First of all, we're going to bring on the ladies, and then we're going to bring on Cody. So you guys know who's running the show. If you don't, you're going to find out right now. So first of all, I'm Garrett with IDC Woodcraft, and these two guys, two ladies right here. Oops, she wasn't quite ready.
Nope.
Yeah, we got Julianne right next to me and Liberty down below. Julianne is the administrator for IDC Woodcraft. She does all the books, all the scheduling, all the planning, make sure inventory is ordered, and a whole lot more stuff. Liberty's fulfillment manager. She has her hands full too. She's a lot of product to manage. She's got someone under her part time and working into the creative side of things. So yeah, that's kind of cool. So anyway, the ladies will be in the background making sure your questions are starred and dialoguing with you. And so make sure your questions have question marks in front of them. So let's see. Couple of the things we're going to announce. Let's see. Do we need to announce now or?
Wait till after he says hi,
Yeah,
and then one of us will pop in.
Yeah, 15 minutes or so, and then you guys say what you need to say. You come back out. About 15 minutes, we'll stop. And all right. So with that. Ladies, I'll push in the background. You guys keep chewing the fat with them. Give them some love because they don't get out in the forefront a whole lot, although Liberty's getting more in the forefront these days. And we're going to bring out Cody, my man Cody. There he is. Hey, man. What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, Garrett? Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited.
Good to have you back. So, Cody, for those that don't know you personally, tell them who you are. And,
Yeah, so I'm Cody Elkins, and maybe 4 or 5 years ago now, Garrett, that we've been kind of talking and getting to know each other. And back then, I was just like every other maker in a 2-car garage, and I was using my belt-driven machines and started designing my own custom tooling to manage the rigidity issues. I was having conversations with other people in the community, and I came out with the original Jenny bit, and then I shared it with everybody, primarily on Facebook is kind of how I started talking about it. And everyone loved the idea of the compression bits I was working on and hosted a group buy, and then it turned into all of this. And now all these years later, we're good friends and hanging out with a ton of people in the maker community, and it's been awesome.
Yeah. We're discovering that I've been kind of your sounding board for a while. Now you turned out to be my sounding board, which is very cool. Very cool. Yeah. So yeah, this is the guy that came up with Jenny. What was the very first Jenny bit that you developed, and why did you develop
So with the 1/4-inch compression router, the Jenny bit, what I was experiencing was I was doing a bunch of production work on the like whiskey barrel wood, and I was making these individual ice cube trays. And the process that I had developed, I was making like 198 cubes every time I hit the party button. So it's like every time I hit go, I was making all these parts, and I hate sanding with a passion, like most other makers out there. And so what I did is I started messing around with different tool geometry. The company I used to work for, we used to make custom tooling all the time for our big like 5-axis CNC mills. And so I kind of got my feet wet doing that kind of stuff. And then I started just making my own tools to make my process bigger, faster, stronger, more suited for the hobby grade machine I was running. And what I did was I started using compression routers because I didn't want to do as much sanding for the project I was doing. But what I was running into is on the compression routers that I had available, and I don't want to say the company name just because I think it's respectful just not to, but that bit specifically had a really long upcut portion. And in order to get the benefits of the compression router, I had to take like a 300,000 depth of cut, and my little machine couldn't handle it. So I started designing the Jenny bit with a really short upcut, and talking with other people in the community too. Like this wasn't a problem that I was just experiencing, like other people was having the same problems as well. And so that's how I got started. And it was the original 1/4-inch compression router that started the whole journey.
Yeah, and now there's an entire line of Jenny bits, and it's still expanding.
It is,
And,
yes.
Yeah, and it was very cool because what was it, 6-8 months ago that we talked, and I was like, Cody makes such good products, and we've been, and it's just, and the way our business, the way we, our mission, I guess, and the whole,
That's a good way.
help creators thing, it was perfect for us to team up, and so IDC Woodcraft carries the Jenny line now. So you saw me bring one of them up. I'm going to just show you on the IDC Woodcraft website. Let's go back to the home page, and when you scroll down, there it is right there. It says Jenny bits, and it's got the Jenny name with the little lipstick thing on there, and there's all the Jenny bits that we carry, which is virtually Cody's entire line. We don't have them in sets at the moment, but we're going to put some sets together on that. But we do have a little surprise for the folks who are watching. So, ladies, will you come back out and let them know what we're going to do in honor of having Cody here as a guest on the show?
To give everybody a chance to try out his wonderful bits with a slight perk, we are doing a 5% discount until
midnight Eastern Standard Time. I was like, I can't remember what I said it for.
From now until 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5% off of all the Jenny bits. Obviously, you're going to hear a lot about them tonight. You'll get a couple hours to order them after the show once you've heard all the wonderful things and filled your cart fully up.
Yep.
And yeah.
And just make sure you use the code that's scrolling across the bottom of your screen right now.
Yeah, check out. So, Cody, in honor of you being a guest, we're just going to say, hey, folks, you got a 5% discount now. So, till midnight tonight, Eastern Standard Time. Today is June 11th. So there you go. Yeah, and the links will be. They'll throw the links into the comments here and there, yep, and down below in the description. And folks, if you didn't know, the rule is when I say something like that, these ladies are the ones that put the links in, and so it's like I'm asking them to do something. It's time to take a sip or something.
Take a drink.
Yeah. So, all right, there you go. 5% off the Jenny bits off the IDCwoodcraft.com website. All right, thanks, ladies. And you know what, ladies? Cody, I want to just make another little announcement.
Sure.
So I want to bring the ladies back on board for a moment. So, ladies, bring yourself back up. So, folks, at IDC, our mission is bigger than just being a business and selling, as you know. So we are all here helping. We have a high standard for customer satisfaction, very customer-oriented business, but it's even beyond that, based on personal mission, right? So we regularly contribute to organizations like St. Jude and Missing Alexis are the two that we have been donating to. So you all know what St. Jude is. Missing Alexis is an organization that supports kids, families who have lost their children due to cancer or something to that effect. All right, and they invite us to their party once a year. That's quite a party they throw. That's pretty high class. Yeah, I left at some point, and the lady stayed there until the party was done. But so we ran a Memorial Day sale last, Memorial Day weekend, and I got a couple of messages from people, and they're saying, "Why do you want to profit on such a day?" Right? And
Yeah.
and it got me to thinking. Is okay. I'm a business. All businesses run Memorial Day sales, and it just made me think. What is the mission here with IDC Woodcraft in a broader sense? And so I figure, it's okay to run Memorial Day sales. That's what businesses do. But we have decided that we're going to expand our contributions. And so we wrote a check to a $2,000 check to the Disabled Americans Veterans Association. And so we will do that a couple times a year now. So like Veterans Day, we'll run a Veterans Day sale, and proceeds, we'll take whatever proceeds come from that. We will make a donation to this organization. And so I thought that was really cool. That I was grateful that somebody brought that up to me. So just want to let you know that's one of the other things we do. So know that when you're supporting or getting your tooling from IDC Woodcraft, you're also supporting St. Jude, Missing Alexis, and now the Disabled Americans Veterans Association. So, and these ladies are part of that thing, so that's why I wanted to bring them back out. What do you think about this? I mean, we've given a lot of money away to these organizations. How much have we donated to date now?
Like this year to date?
No.
Or like total?
Overall, like 70 grand.
I gotta run the numbers if you want an exact one, but yes, that's a good roundabout figure. So
something like $70,000 we've donated so far. Mm-hmm. So we continue to do that. Sometimes quarterly, sometimes biannually. Last year was a little bit slow on our donations, but we haven't let go of that. So, all right. Well, thanks, ladies.
Oh, that's awesome, Gary.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's so it's that type of stuff that makes this community so awesome. You know what I mean? That's what makes it great. And to see that you're doing that and making it a priority, it just confirms even more so that us working together in this capacity, it's awesome. It's super, super good stuff. So
yeah,
I'm honored to be a part of all this.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and I'm so glad that we are in alignment. Cody and I have talked a lot over the last few years, and we've watched each other grow, and it's been a really fascinating story, journey for both of us to be part of that journey. All right, Cody, we got some questions out here. Let's see. Did want to ask. Who out here has the alt mill CNC router? I know there's someone who's waiting for those. Let's handle some questions first, though. So the first one is our brother Gary Lynn, and he's got a two-part question here. So, folks, as Gary has learned, if you're putting a comment in that's over 200 characters, it just won't even take. So, Gary, you said your observation. Do they make a tapered ball nose end mill with a 30-degree taper, or 60 or 90? And he said this would make cleanup in the bottom of the carve a lot nicer. What do you think about something to that effect?
I don't know. I haven't seen that. Typically the tapered ball nose, like the ones I make the 1/16 tapered ball nose and the 1/8 inch tapered ball nose, and then I make a 1/4 inch ball nose. But none of those are like 30 or 60. Like one's like 5.2 degrees, I think, is the angle, and then I can't remember off the top of my head what the other angle is. But I think it's certainly doable.
Yeah. So, folks, this
Yeah,
is a taper ball bit right there. And that's the Jenny bit on the IDC Woodcraft website. But as you can see, it's out of stock at the moment. And if you come to the website and you see, so we've already got our order in, and you see that, like that little red button there, it says notify me when they come in. All right. And then it'll ask you for your phone number and or your email. And as soon as we re-inventory them, then you will be notified. I would say, Liberty, when these come in, do they pretty much go right back out? Yeah, she's nodding her head, yeah. So if you get that text, jump on it. So a 30 or 60 degree taper ball nose, what do you think about that? It kind of makes sense to me. Hadn't thought about it.
It'll just get you a wider angle. With that one specifically, I'm pretty sure that's 5 degrees per side. So it's like 10 degrees altogether is what that taper is. But I would have to do the math and see what it looks like when I render it to my software to see if you can hold that radius. I'm sure that you can. I might have some wheel clearance issues because that, you got to do the fluting, and as you're doing the fluting on that helix, it's actually got to go up in there and then come around with the cup wheel in order to establish that radius. So I'm pretty sure it's doable. I've just never seen that. I'm used to seeing kind of just the stuff that I make, but I don't know. If there's a really big demand out there, I think we can certainly try one, see if it works.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Maybe we'll try one with a 16th radius on it. Let's see what happens. We'll play with that. Had a question out there. Was what's the difference between what's different with the Jenny bits, right? So Cody has different configurations, right? So I know that he's got his hands right in the designs, literally in the designs, and the machine you see right behind you is the machine that cuts the tooling. All right. When I design my tooling, I have to work with my other tooling companies, but it's his bits are. I just know he's got different geometries, and they're good cutting bits, and he's got a lot of people that like him. It was a good pairing on that way to expand on a business sense the product line, right? The IDC Woodcraft product line. Cody has the same business morals and ethics that I do, and the same mission. So I embrace that. It's just like the Alt Mill or the Airweights or some of the other things, right? These are companies that I endorse strongly, so it makes good sense. His geometries are different, slightly different, and so I don't really know how to say what the difference is.
Well, I can explain a little bit on kind of my methodology behind it. So
do that.
I think
while you're doing that, I got to step over here. I'm going to turn the AC down a little bit. It's getting a little chilly.
Okay.
Here.
So the interesting thing I think is, for years and years, these big tool manufacturing companies, they make good tools. Forever, I've worked in machine shops almost my entire adult career, and we were buying all kinds of really high quality, good end mills. And I think kind of what had happened is when the maker community started coming about, I don't think that these big companies really saw that as an opportunity because they were already creating a product that had worked really well for the industrial side of things. but they just kind of overlooked the maker community. So what I started doing is when I started designing my own tool geometry, I was doing it specifically for machines like ours. So, the more rigidity that I can build into the tool, the better my process was going to be, the better, cut quality. I can push my machine, harder, faster, all of those things by just tweaking the different tool geometry and introducing that rigidity, like more so at the tool level. And so that's what I have done with all of my tools, and just really had, the makers in mind. So a really good example of that, Garrett, the bowl bit that I make, the bowl cut Jenny. So on typical bowl bits that you buy from a number of these other, tool manufacturing companies, a lot of times it's brazed carbide on like a high speed steel like body, right? And they'll braze the carbide tips on there. And the problem that I was running into, and this was especially when I first started out, but the software that I had available at that time, I wasn't able to do a ramp plunge, right? I was only able to plunge like straight in, do my pocketing tool path, and then go straight in, do my pocketing tool path. And so when I started working on this with Hamilton Dilbeck, what I did is I created a tool that, one, it's all out of solid carbide, so it's completely balanced. There's no brazed carbide tips on there or any of that stuff, right? And two, I made it 3 flute, and one of the flutes cut on center. So back in the day when I had the software where I couldn't do a ramp plunge, I was really held back on how deep of a cut I could take because of that. So I started designing this type of tooling to where it didn't matter the type of software that you have, that bit can handle like a straight plunge, or it can handle a ramping plunge. And then the other thing too is I know that a lot of us, makers who are using these bowl and tray bits, we're here. I got one right here. So like somebody made me this tray, right? Like that's a lot of hogging to do. And if you did that with a regular bowl bit, I mean, you could only do like a 7 or 8% step over. And if you go any larger than that, you start seeing lines on the bottom of your carve because of the radius, because of the full radius. So knowing that that's the type of stuff that we deal with, I put an 1/8 inch flat bottom on the bowl bit so that way you could take a larger step over, but still get the really nice flat finish on the bottom, but cut your runtime way down, because you're not doing an 8% step over, you're doing a 25% step over. And so again, like all of the tools and the tooling design that I've worked on, it's been specifically for problems that have been identified and problems that people have in the maker community. The same is true with like the downshear V-bits, for the longest time, and I don't know why, but they said you couldn't make a downshear V-bit. And I figured it out, and it works really, really well. And it helps with chip out, and it helps with your masking. And so again, my entire MO is maker driven. And that's what goes into my design. So I hope that answered kind of that question on what makes it different compared to the really big tool manufacturing companies that's been making tools forever. Uh-oh, did I lose Garrett?
Not sure what's happening. We'll give him a minute to get himself together.
Yeah.
We hear him now.
Can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm
You
just trying to get my camera set back up here. There we go. Should come up. Nope. I'll be back. Take over for a minute, and technical difficulties. I'll be right back.
Will do. All right. Let's see.
I don't have access to any of the questions.
Okay.
So I'll just let you drive.
Works for me. Okay. So if we've already gone over this one, forgive me. I've been taking notes and doing a bunch of stuff in the background. So
It's okay.
I'm seeing Jenny in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. My question is, who got the kiss?
So, okay. The whole story, but behind like the Jenny brand and the name, it's really it's awesome. It's a really neat story, and if we have time, maybe we can talk about how the bit was named Jenny. But in
Go for
regards
it.
to the logo, that was actually my wife's idea, and so she kind of had that idea of, when we were younger, if she like would write me a love letter or whatever, she might kiss like the piece of paper and put it on the windshield of my truck or whatever, right? And it was kind of had that girl next door feeling, like, just that crush you had when you were a kid or whatever. And so my wife suggested putting the lips on there, for the Jenny bit. And then the cool thing too is, like, even on the logo, somebody in the community helped me design the logo, and they put the original Jenny bit geometry in the J of the Jenny. And so as this was like kind of falling into place, because it wasn't really planned, after it was all said and done and we had like the lips and the Jenny logo, and finally my wife's like, you know what, you should just put like lipstick on the top of the J, and that made it. It just made the logo, and we've been running with that ever since.
So there were a couple questions earlier on, I believe. Where did the name Jenny come from?
Yeah, so for years and years, the company that I used to work for, we had all worked together at like one shop. It was this big aerospace and defense industry, like machine shop. And I had quit. I went to work at another place, and we started another startup business doing all like aerospace and defense machining. And for years, there was always a running joke, and it didn't matter if it was at the old shop, if it was at the company that we started. But anytime somebody would ask, like, hey, what part number are we working on? Without fail, somebody would say, oh, it's 8675309. And so like, when I started making the original Jenny bit and I was having them made here locally, it was no big deal to have like 5 or 10 tools made for me. But once I shared it on Facebook and everyone's like, hey, I want to try it, I hosted my very first group buy. And so when I went to go have 100 tools made, that company was like, all right, Cody, we got to do it the right way. Like, making a couple tools for you is one thing, but when you're ordering quantities like this, we have to make it official. So that we need a part number, we need something to identify the system. And I'm like, I don't know, 8675309. Not even thinking about like the context, because it was just an inside joke for years. And then when I hosted that first group buy, everybody saw the part number. And because of the Tommy Two-Tone song in the 80s, which is funny because the song's older than we are, but people started calling the bit Jenny, and the name stuck. And so this entire thing has been 100% grassroots, from like making the tools, sharing it with the community, and even the naming convention. Because every tool after that, like I haven't named a single tool. I would let the community submit names, and then people would vote on it. And then whoever chose the name that won, they would get a free tool. But now there's like the Jenny, the mini Jenny, the skinny Jenny, the groovy Jenny, the downtown Jenny, the uptown Jenny. There's all these different Jenny bits that kind of describe the features of the tool. And so that's how the Jenny bit name started. It was all from a silly inside joke at work.
And I gotta say that even at IDC, when we put your bits into our system, it has that 8675309 at the beginning of it.
It does, yeah. So every part number starts with 8675309, and then the dash whatever is kind of what distinguishes which bit it is.
Yep, absolutely.
So I'm just worried because as I keep launching new tools, I'm running out of Jenny names. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Oh, don't tell me that you're gonna go with a different song or a possible different
female
name to go with it.
I'm just gonna stick with what's been working and let the community kind of choose the name. So
very good.
I think that makes it a lot more fun.
For sure. All right.
I think I'm
You
back
good, Garrett?
online here.
Good deal. All right,
Awesome.
I'll go ahead and
Welcome
throw Jeff's question up here. Best bits for cutting HDPE color core and aluminum. Thanks. And I'm going to the back.
Okay.
Garrett, you want to take this one?
HDPE color core. So that's got the aluminum, thin sheets of aluminum on the outside, and the high density polyurethane on the inside. So O-flute bits are generally good for that. I do know people that use an upcut bit for that. So upcut end mill, 1/4 inch. I haven't tried 1/8 inch. You can try it. I'm not sure. Depends on how thick it is. As far as the using the 1/8 inch, I'd go with 3/16 if you're going to try an upcut. I have not cut color core, but I got a sample piece back there that I guess I get enough that this question enough that I need to go ahead and do it. But I know that O-flute bits work for it. The aluminum's nice and thin, so you can work with the O-flute bits on that.
Yeah, I think the aluminum on that's only like 7 thou or something like that. It's pretty thin.
Super thin.
But so there's one thing I've experienced too is when I'm cutting plastic. So I haven't cut that specifically with aluminum on there, but I've cut a lot of other type of plastic. Well, as a matter of fact, so something like this, right? So this is 1/8 inch plastic. It's got the white core and it's got the black top on it. So now I laser this stuff, but I've cut it with O-flutes also. And one thing I've ran into is if you're cutting a big piece of plastic and it's really thin, when you're using like an upcut O-flute bit, you have to be careful because sometimes it'll start bouncing and chattering on you.
Mm-hmm.
So in that instance, if you're cutting something that's really thin, but it's over a large area, I would use like a down cut O-flute because that helps push it down. But that's in a specific situation where you don't want this being pulled up and rammed into your spindle. But they do, as a matter of fact, so I make the 1/4 inch O-flute upcut and down cut, but you are the only one that has a down cut O-flutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't even sell them on my website.
I haven't run a down cut O-flute. So yeah, sorry folks. My answer to the question, my head is in like getting all this technical stuff put back together. So, but yeah, so the down cut O-flute.
Yeah, it works good when you're using thinner plastics.
I got to get my plastics out and run some more stuff. I've normally I've done acrylic and plexiglass.
So there's a couple people out there that's using those down shear O-flutes a lot, and they love them. So,
okay,
but it's got to be for a specific application. You know what I mean? I'd start with an upcut O-flute before I do anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The one thing that Cody did make the point, using a large sheet and you have a spiral that's cutting away and you don't have support throughout that sheet, the sheet itself will vibrate like that. So if it's a thin sheet, especially if it's a thin sheet. All right, what do we got here? Let's come to the next question. So we got Stefan. Let's see, hello all from Montana. Quick question: anyone use the IDC tooling for 263D carving of aluminum? If so, which ones? Let's see. He sent an email to us a couple weeks ago and never received a response. Okay. Well, the ladies will make a note of that, and we will certainly look into that because I don't want emails going unresponded to. Sometimes, though, Stefan, just so folks, so you know, if we get emails from certain email addresses, our email service tends to kick them into spam, and so it doesn't happen that much, but sometimes it just does that, and it's kind of weird. I know that like Comcast is a really bad one. So we'll check that out too. And we just have to remember on occasion to make sure we check into the spam emails. So, ladies made a note of that. We'll follow up on that one tomorrow. But to his question for aluminum, so I did a piece of aluminum with the TBN2. Okay, that's the larger of the two ball nose bits that we have, taper balls. And I did this nice 3D carve. I did it on the long mill, and so the long mill isn't much good beyond using a tool, a small tool like that on aluminum. I haven't done it on the alt mill yet, and that's something I want to do. I got so many things I got to do on the alt mill. It's like, oh, when can I get to these darn things? So the TBN2 is the one I would recommend, this taper ball nose too. How would yours do on aluminum, Cody? You got the long ones, the deeper ones. What would you say about
I don't know. I don't know that anyone's ever used the Jenny bits to do a 3D carve on aluminum.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure. I mean, I think once you dialed in your feed and speeds, I think they would work really well for two reasons. One, the coating that I use at ZRN. So that's the same coating that we use in the defense industry when we were cutting a lot of aluminum. And the reason why is because that coating has a really high lubricity value.
Yep.
So it helps evacuate the chips faster, and it helps prevent galling when you're cutting aluminum. So that's just one thing to really keep an eye out, is when you're cutting aluminum, you want to have some type of like spray coolant or something on the bit to prevent that galling from happening.
Yep.
But in regards to people actually using the Jenny bits for it, I've never done it, and I don't know anybody who has. But I think it would probably work well just because, the coating alone, it helps.
Right. Yeah, when you're doing that, of course, you want to bring your step over down to maybe no more than 5 to 8%, right? What Cody's talking about, for those of you who don't know, when he's talking about galling, Gall, okay, aluminum has this really weird property that if you cut it improperly or don't have it, sometimes you need, how to put this? If you can dial your feeds and speeds in where you don't need to lubricate it, but you want to, if you're not used to working with aluminum, you want to lubricate it with some kind of misting. So what galling is, aluminum will soften up really fast, and when it softens up, it'll form right to the flute of the bit. So the flute of the bit is the actual cut in front of the cutting tooth. It's that pocket in front of it. And it will form into that, and it will stick to it so hard you can get it out of there. It doesn't ruin the bit, but it's once you get that galling going on, that bit is useless until you get that bit of aluminum out of that flute.
Yeah.
So
because what happens is that aluminum gets stuck in the fluting, right? And then what happens is you try to cut, and it starts rubbing, and it's not cutting, and it starts generating heat, and then you lose the tips on your cutter, and it just goes downhill from there. So the better you can manage that, yeah, absolutely.
Right. Okay, so Ron is asking, any plans on offering in-person classes? I think this would be a huge hit. Yes, I want to do that. I have my shop here, and that's been one of the things that I've been wanting to do. I've finally moved into my shop. I've got quite a bit of work to do. I got to knock out a wall over there. I'd have to get a big screen TV. A good time to get a TV on the company, huh?
There you go.
And do that. So I would like to, but then again, there's also the matter of dealing with the insurance company and making sure we're insured appropriately to do that. But yes, I want to do in-person classes. So what I think I want to do is maybe a 2 or 3 day class, depending on how many people would sign up, so that everybody would have opportunity to run the machine that for the project that they designed.
IDC University.
Say again?
IDC University.
Yeah, there you go. It's a good question. Let's see. So I'm going to take a little sidestep here, Cody. I just want to let Chris Thorogood from CNC Labs, the company that makes the long mill and the alt mill, let me know that So they are doing a major update in the G-Sender software. And that update is basically what they did is they took the GRBL, when they developed G-Sender, and most of your GRBL control software is based on a pre-built software. And they just add plugins to it. And so what they did, they've gotten to a point where they said they rebuilt it from the ground up. And they gave it a new facelift. And so I am going to share screen. I got to plug my machine in real quick, though. I hate to do this. My machine's giving me a little bit of a whine, and I'm not sure. I think I might have to swap my super longboard on it. But it's got a very interesting, take this out of e-stop and connect the machine if I can. Let's see, there we go. Okay, there we go. And so I just want to share a screen so folks, you can see what's coming down the pike. It's quite different. But Chris wanted me to just let folks know. So let's share. And we'll do, there it is. Okay. So that's what the new G-Sender is going to look like. And I'm still navigating. I literally just downloaded it today. So getting used to it, obviously, is going to be a little bit different. But I just want to let you know that he wanted me to let you know. So that's what's coming down the pike. They're releasing it on June 18th. So there you go. Want to let you know.
Nice.
Folks, for those of you who, first of all, you see what's going on scrolling across the screen there. In honor of having Cody tonight, we're doing 5% off of the Jenny bits on the IDC Woodcraft website. And that code right there, Love Jenny, all capital letters, one word, is the discount code to use. And Liberty said we expect to run out very quickly on those. So, and that sale ends at midnight. So, oh yeah, we're doing a little giveaway later on too. So we do a giveaway every week. We do a giveaway. All right. So Paul is saying, why are the limitations of the 1/16 bit been doing profiles with V-bits, but wondering about the 1/16? 1/16. Wait, what are the limitations of the 1/16 bit? Been doing profiles with V-bits, but wondering about the 1/16. What would you say about doing profiles with the 16th downcutted?
So 1/16 bit, that's pretty small. The thing about carbide is it doesn't bend; it just breaks. So if you have your work holding and your work holding's not very rigid and there's a lot of vibrations, you can introduce that type of tool deflection and start breaking tools. So for me personally, I never use a 1/16 bit for cutting any profile, just because I don't want to risk breaking a tool. No. And I'm kind of lazy, so I program all of my profile cuts with a 1/4-inch tool, because I don't want to do tool changes. So I just leave the Jenny bit and the spindle and go. But it's doable. You just have to keep a really good eye on your feeds and speeds. Make sure you're not getting a lot of like sawdust. You want nice, healthy looking chips. You want them to be fluffy. If you're getting a lot of sawdust, it's either because your IPMs are too high or your inches per minute's too low. And what you're doing is you're introducing more heat to the bit, which can make it go dull, which can lead to tool deflection, which can lead to the tool breaking.
Yep.
So I would recommend, me personally, I wouldn't cut any profiles with a 1/16 tool. I sometimes use an 1/8-inch tool when I need to have like tighter corners. But for the most part, I try to program everything with a 1/4-inch tool.
Yeah. I'm the same way. Profile with a 1/8, 3/16 or 1/4-inch. If you're doing small, thin parts, the 1/16 is a detail bit. It's not meant to do a lot the heavy workload that a profile is requiring.
I think the only time I've really used 1/16 bit is when I was doing like a really detailed union on a flag.
Okay.
You know, so I would cut all my stars, and then there would be a logo in the center of the union. And you know, if there was a lot of detail, and I needed it to be a flat pocket, I would use a 1/16 down cut. But other than that, I don't think I've really used 1/16 for anything other than that, like one project.
Right.
But it's doable. You can certainly do it.
Say what?
I said, but it's doable. You can certainly do it. You just got to keep a close eye on it.
Yeah. Yep. There's no reason for me to do that either. I would do a 1/8, but not a 16th. By the way, so we released the quarter inch downcut ball nose some time ago, and the downcut ball nose it leaves really nice, clean top corners. And people were asking, well, do you have a 1/8 or a 1/16? We didn't, but because enough people asked for that, we are now getting those lined up and tooled up and getting them made. So those, I already got the prototypes and they cut beautifully. So we're moving forward with it. I wanted to thank Elliot for his little $2 donation. He says hi to me and you. Hello, Elliot. What's going on?
What's going on, Elliot?
Yep. Thank you, Elliot, for the donation. So Kevin is saying, evening, Garrett and Cody. Either Cody or Garrett, any thoughts for a 15-degree V-bit? So I will first say my opinion on a 15-degree. So let's just say we're talking a full angle 15-degree. And so if you got a full angle 15-degree, that's a really super narrow V-bit. And my experience with those is that little point, you know, it's a needle. It's going to draw blood, but it's also going to break on you. It's super fine. I've never seen a need for it, but that's why I don't carry them, because the tips will break too easy. You know, IDC Woodcraft has a 90-day, you break it, we'll replace it, even if it's your fault, guarantee, right? And so I know that we would be replacing a ton of those things. Anyway, go ahead, Cody. You share what you got to share.
Yeah, same thing. I've never used one but that's narrow of an angle, and for and rightly so. You know, the tip is really fragile. I was working with Mark for a while, Mark Lindsay, and we were working on a bit specifically to kind of address some of the epoxy inlay. And it was the one I made. It was really close to like a 15-degree, and it worked good. But then there were a few things that had happened, and that, like, somebody close to me had passed away, and we haven't really touched base since then. But what I did to address the tip issue is I actually designed the tip to cut like an end mill. So it was a 2-flute like upcut V-bit, and the tip of it looked like an end mill, and it worked really, really well. But I haven't worked on that project since then. I need to reach out to Mark and probably get that going again, because I think that could be a really big deal.
Yeah,
but
Mark's here. Okay, and he even made a comment here. He said 15-degree V-bits are handy for detail epoxy and inlays. So and that note, I would be curious about that too. So I would like to know more about that. Julianne, make a note for me we can talk to Mark about that. Maybe we'll get him back on here and we can talk about that. Also, I want to say hello to Jace from Airweights, our brother Jace. Yeah, he's got the vacuum system for the benchtop CNCs, and I owe him a video. He sent me a unit for the alt mill, and I've had it for a couple of months, and it's been a lot of stuff has been going on, and so I hadn't got to it. I actually called him the other day and apologized to him. Also want to say hello to our brother Andy from Andy Bird's Builds. You know all these guys.
I do. Yep.
Yep. There's Andy.
Yeah, Jason's awesome. So is Andy.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. So folks, Andy's Bird, you've seen him on YouTube. He's got quite a channel. He also has a business education course. So for those of you who are interested in CNC business and you really don't know what to do, I'm going to give you this one pointer that the reason you're not in business is because what we know is we're here. And when we're trying to get into business with I want to say not a business kind of mindset or awareness, it can be a real struggle. Right. And so Andy, he got really passionate about teaching people about business, because once you become an entrepreneur, Cody, me, Jace, Andy, right, it's a completely different way of thinking. But there's not any courses out there that are really oriented towards CNC, and Andy put it together. So we're going to throw a link in for his course, and you can go to the website and check it out. He's got introductory video and stuff like that. If you want to get into business, we have to have mentors to get into a business, right? And mentorship can be, we can go to YouTube and get, hey, I made $5,000 this month, stuff like that, right? But what you're not getting out of those things is the inside, the mindset, and that's why we have to find a mentor. And so Andy has built this course, and he's a mentor to teach you how to do business. And it is. Once you start to realize, you're going, wow, I really didn't know. This is really how I have to look at things. So if you're serious about that, check out his course. We're going to put in a link for that. All right.
Well, and I can echo that 100%, because like for me, everything, and I've shared this with you, Garrett, like I've got really good at making things and designing tools and doing like the technical aspect of it. But the longer I'm doing this, the more I'm realizing like I'm not as good at like the office administration stuff. Like I'm not as good at like doing all the ins and outs of the actual business. Like I come into work and I naturally gravitate towards that thing and not the computer, But so having that mentor, it really creates accountability, I think. I shared with you, I'm meeting with my mentor this Friday. We're going to sit down and talk about a bunch of stuff and just make sure everything's in order. But being able to have somebody to bounce ideas off of, and have somebody to call you out when you're doing a bunch of shenanigans, like it's really, really nice to have people like that in your corner. And so people like Andy, people like you, like it's, man, I highly recommend the same thing. Get a good mentor.
Yep.
It's taken me a long time to really embrace it, but it's necessary.
Yeah. Yep. So just so you folks know, I paid $35,000 a year to my mentor. All right. That's commitment. I'm leaving my current mentor, and I'm going to start into a new mentorship because I want to go to the next level. And you can outgrow your mentor. And so I've outgrown my mentor. People that I've mentored, they've outgrown me. It takes a good mentor to say, you need to move on. It's time to move up, and there's only so much I can deliver to you. Yeah. And I just want to just remind, Jace is here from Airweights. So we're going to put his link too. Vacuum systems are a good hold down method, very quick and fast. Did you ever have a vacuum system on your equipment?
No, I've talked to Jace several times about getting one. And I haven't acquired one yet, but they're cool. I've seen them. I have other friends who have other CNC machines where the vacuum tables are built into it. And yeah, it's awesome. But I currently don't have one. I've helped put one together, one of Jace's Airweights together. When we went to Workbench Con in Atlanta, I helped set the one up on the Infinity. And it was like, I had some like work holding envy when I was sitting there putting that sucker together. It was really cool.
Yeah, I had a unit for the long mill, and you get that thing down, you cannot move that part. We'll throw in a video that I did on the other system. It's the same system. It's a bigger one for the alt mill, so you can actually see what this is and why it's something you want to consider. Okay, Stephen, what are our thoughts on using AI to determine the initial parameters, especially when working without high-end equipment, considering that some tool databases are optimized for more powerful machines? So it's kind of an interesting question because AI is getting quite powerful. What AI doesn't know is the geometries of your tooling. It is probably going to give the same kind of feedback, but I don't know.
Yeah.
What's your thought?
So AI is interesting, and it's something I'm actually pretty intrigued by. So I try to follow the AI stuff pretty closely and
I do
mess with
too.
it, play with it. I don't think it's quite there yet because with these like large language models, it's going out and getting a bunch of information from the internet like all at the same time, right? Well, the problem is you have so many different data points for feeds and speeds for different tools. I mean, I make a downcut bit. Garrett has a downcut bit. 20 other machine companies have downcut bits. And I'd be willing to bet like almost every single one of them have different feeds and speeds. So I'd be really curious what it would spit out. I would definitely be careful. The other thing too is the AI is never going to know your project. And so I have people oftentimes ask me, like, what feeds can I run to go just as fast as I can? And I'm always a little reluctant to answer that question because everybody's work holding is different. Everybody's machine, like rigidity, is different. Some people have spindles. Some people have not very good spindles. Some people have Makita routers. And there are so many different variables. I think AI would have trouble putting together a solid like feeds and speeds. Not that it can't. Maybe someday in the future it can. But I would just be really careful with it because you don't want to hurt yourself or hurt your machine or ruin a $3,000 project, you know.
Yeah.
But what I recommend often is, start with the basic feeds and speeds. There's typically like a baseline. I have a baseline that I recommend for all my tools, but that's a really large dragnet because that's for Bob CNC machines to One'Finities to Shapeoko. So I'm trying to cover everybody. And so I just recommend people to start with the baseline and then increase their feeds and speeds by like 20% at a time to see how your project specifically responds to it. And again, the reason being is because my work holding is not going to be the same as yours. And if I run 250 inches a minute at a 1/4 inch depth per pass, it can probably work really well on my machine, but it might not work as well on yours. So I would recommend starting with the baseline and then just bumping up or down a percentage at a time. And if I were using AI technology to help determine those feeds and speeds, I would probably do the same thing. I would start with something conservative, use AI, and then I would test it out, And I would test it. I would use a test piece. I wouldn't use an actual project because I would hate to ruin a $3,000 table or 3D carving or whatever,
Or break
But
your
it's
bit.
exciting. It's exciting to technology, develop.
I love
but I would
studying.
totally be with it.
Yeah, I love studying AI. I've been all over it the past few weeks. And speaking of that, we are looking for a content writer. IDC Woodcraft is. I'm looking for a high-value content writer that understands how AI works and how AI looks at content. So it's not just someone that just writes. We need to. I want really high quality content put up, but we are looking for someone as a contract thing to create 5 to 10 website articles a month. And yeah, but you have to understand AI. Absolutely have to understand it. So someone asked about the feeds and speed for the
I find
Jenny bit.
myself.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I don't even know what I was going to say. I was going to say something about like I think with AI, I use it as my Google replacement now.
Yeah.
I just find it a lot more intuitive.
Yep, for sure. So do I. A lot of people do. So there was a question out there, are the Jenny bit feeds and speeds on the IDC Woodcraft website? So we don't have it on all the products on the website itself, but it all is on the phone app, the IDC Woodcraft phone app. So we have all the Jenny bits on the phone app. There's a chip load calculator. We have the checklist. You can set up checklist there. You can edit it, change your own checklist. It's got all the feeds and speeds for everything in the IDC arsenal. So I suggest you get that. You'll have feeds and speeds right there. You can get the database off the IDC Woodcraft website as well. All right, Mike is saying, I asked this on the IDC page, but what is special about the Jenny bit? It looks like a regular bit. Well, we've been talking about that. So you're starting to get the idea of Cody comes at the CNC bit designs from a different angle. And truly, folks, I can tell you, not all CNC bits are built the same. When you start diving into understanding tooling geometries, there are so many variables in a CNC bit design. So you have your cutting tooth, the tooth angle, the secondary tooth angle, like that secondary angle at the back of the tooth. You got you got the flute depth, the flute contour. The flute is that little valley. You got your end cutting teeth, the Nash, right? And then you got the Nash in there. Answer that, Cody. It's like not all bits are created equal. Tell them why.
Well, and again, I think Garrett kind of hit the nail on the head. You know, I specifically design my tools to have the most rigidity as possible, specifically for hobby grade machines. The nice thing about that is the more rigid you can design your tools, not only does it work well on like hobby grade machines, but they work even better on big industrial machines. And you know, just a quick example, there was a company out in Florida and they were running some really high-end 3-flute compression routers. And these tools, they were like $180 to $200 a pop. Now, granted, it's made out of special material, and they're doing high volume production, and they asked me to compete against it. And so I made my own version of the 3-flute compression router. Actually, I have one right here. I don't know if you can see it too well. But this sucker, with the principles that I use in my tool design, when they put it in a head-to-head like competition versus the other tool got up to 120 sheets, full cabinet grade, like plywood. I think it was 3/4 inch. The other brand made it about 120 sheets before they had to replace the bit. And my bit, the one I just showed you, made it to 165 sheets before they had to change it out. And I think a lot of it had to do with the tool geometry that I use in my design, on top of the coding and everything else, that just makes it a really good, solid tool. And so to answer your question in a nutshell, is, you know, the bits that I make, they're designed for makers by makers, and I take feedback from the community and I incorporate that in to solve problems and to make our lives better. So it's not just like a generic bit that you can buy on Amazon. There's purpose behind the design, and they work really well. So I hope that answers it adequately.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool. So we're going to be visiting Cody here in a couple of weeks, and we're gonna video how a CNC bit is made, all right, and talk, and then we're gonna go to the coding company, and there's a science behind everything, and when it comes to cutting tools, it's kind of like, you know, like Cody said, you can go to Amazon, you look at a tool. But there's a science behind it. I mean, a deep science behind cutting tools. So that's why, you know, Cody makes stuff. You know, you want to create content, but you're in business. You gotta be specific. You can't put yourself in a bunch of different places. That's splitting your energy, and you'll be all over the place. That's why I tell people, don't make 15 different products and try to sell 15 different products. Get good at one. Right. The hog the Beast here, I was getting breaks on that. And so I had to go back to my tooling engineer, different company, is another supplier. And I said, we got to refine this. And so we modified the flute. We changed the flute angle on it, and that eliminated a ton of the breaks that we were getting on it. So folks, those of you who have the alt mill CNC router, I want to ask you if you would be so kind to, I would like to see what your reviews would look like on that. So we have the alt mill on the IDC Woodcraft website, and so it's a link that takes you to the alt mill page. But if you purchase that, I would love to see some reviews on the site for the alt mill CNC router. So just a little quick ask if you got one, so we can see that. All right, John, it says a 15-degree downcut V-bit would be nice.
Yeah.
What do you?
I think it's doable. We make a 30-degree downshear V-bit, 60-degree downshear in the 90. The only thing is, the tighter you get on the angle, like Garrett was saying earlier, the tip is more vulnerable to breaking. So that would be the only concern I have. Regardless if it's a down cut or a straight cut or even an up cut, it's the nature of the beast. But if there's enough demand out there for it and people are really interested in it, this is why me and Garrett exist. We'll try it, and if it's something that's going to make our lives better as makers, and I'm all about trying stuff like that.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, Mark Lindsay said, you're a maker yourself, and you welcome the feedback from the community. So that's another thing. Cody was making product with stock bits, and he didn't like what his tooling was doing. That's what started all. So he had to come up with his own philosophy about bit design. Folks, anybody who uses the Jenny bits, just put a comment in there, just what you feel about those bits. And remember, we're doing a 5% off of Jenny bits today up until midnight. It's June 11th, midnight Eastern Standard Time. We're probably sold out of them already as we've been running the sale. But so we'll have a link. Use that discount code that's the one that's scrolling at the bottom. John, that was the same one. Okay. So I would like to know more about 15 degree, because I really hesitated to carry them just because the tip would break so easily.
I made a note of it here. This is like the third time somebody's asked that question or made a comment about it. I think it's worth us discussing it maybe tomorrow or next week or when you come down here.
Totally. Yep, totally. So this is what it takes, folks. It's like when we start seeing repeated requests, that's when we're going, okay, it's time to make a tool for this. So like the Beast, the roughing bit from IDC Woodcraft, people were asking for a 3/8 version of it. And I got enough requests. Okay, I'm doing it. All right, Paul is saying number 2 profile for detail work on signs. So I think he had that previous question. So for the 15 degree. Profile detail work on signs. That's a shallow bit. We'll talk about it. Okay, it's been brought up, like Cody said. We'll talk about it.
Put a pin in it, as my wife would say.
Yeah. All right, Todd. He said, question: are the Jenny bits better than IDC bits, and why or why not? It's kind of a preference. So we've talked about this already. That the Jenny bits are designed specifically by Cody. He's got a different design philosophy. So I have tooling companies design my bits, and then I go back in and I tell them for certain modifications. So
I don't think you can go wrong with either one.
yeah.
Like, really, it depends on the project that you're working on and what you're trying to achieve. Because there's a lot of bits that Garrett has that I don't even make. I just don't have the capability to do it yet. And they're good tools. So regardless of if it's a Jenny bit or an IDC Woodcraft bit, just know that you're getting more than a bit with it. You're getting community with it. And so if you run into an issue or a problem, you can reach out and you can ask questions or get me on the phone or get Garrett on the phone and we troubleshoot and we figure out feeds and speeds. And, just yesterday I had probably an hour phone call and, it was just all about this guy's setting up his machine and he just needed some help and some advice. And, we just worked through all of it. And that's what makes it more than a bit, honestly, it's you get that support and you get the community that comes with it, regardless if it's an IDC or a Jenny bit.
Yeah. So let me put it this way. We have in the IDC policy, right, a 90-day, if you break it, we'll replace it, even if it's your fault, right? If the bit breaks on our account, we want to know. That's why we asked to have it sent back. We'll send it out to you, the replacement out to you, but we always want to see the product too. So, yeah, we got to guarantee, and then we guarantee even the Jenny bits, right? So it's you break it, we replace it. We'll eat the cost, but I have enough faith in the tooling, and I've done enough stuff that I'm okay with it. So to Cody's note, though. Things like this. So as a new person who's working with CNC routers, they don't know how to necessarily install their bits. And I've seen people, we would get returned bits and they're broken at the very top of the shank. And as soon as I see that, I know exactly what's happening. They're trying to get as much length out of that bit as they can, and they're holding. And you do that, you have no support on the bit, and it snaps it right there. And so come up with this resource right here that tells you what and what not to do when you're installing your bit. And when you order for the first time, you get the sticker in your package. Right? That's just awesome. One of the little things. So you got the IDC Woodcraft app. The only company's got all that information out there like that. The setup checklist. No one had a setup checklist out there. The setup of your project is more important than running a project, because if you don't follow the setup, the setup is XYZ setting. Right? How many people forgot to set the Z? I want to see if in the thing I did. I want to see a comment if you did it. I want to see an I did. Like
I've done it, or I set my Z on the top of the material when it was supposed to be the bed, or vice versa, and I crashed my tool. Like, it's easy to do. It's nice having those checklists.
Yep. This goes through the whole thing. I had Mark Lindsay after I got the base checklist. I sent it to him. I gave it to my designer. He did all the work. I'm going, all right, I'm ready. And Mark said, you forgot this. I'm like, son of a bitch. Mark, thanks a lot. So I had to go back to the designer and add it in. But but this is all the steps that you have to go through to make sure you set up your project right. There's double checks in there and stuff like that. This is free. This is to you. And we'll link this in there too. So, that's the kind of support, making content, getting on the phone. All right.
So my background as a quality engineer, Garrett, like I see checklists and that gets me excited. I totally nerd out on it, like making process maps and building it all out. And that's really good stuff, man. I'm so glad that you do that.
Yeah. Yep. I'm seeing a whole bunch of people say, I forgot to set my Z. Yeah. I made that checklist when I saw someone sent me a picture. He said, what happened? He had a $3,000 epoxy pour. So, and he was getting ready to surface it, and he forgot to set the Z, and he drove that thing right into that table pour. And it's like, it's like, I can't stand to see that. That's so easy to avoid. Mark Lindsay swears by checklists. Anytime he's on here, we talk about it. He says that. So that's just
even with the checklist though. Even with the checklist, though, it's easy to get complacent. I can't tell you, like, okay, one time I went out and I bought like a $65 1/8" O flute, like Amana bit, right? Mm-hmm. And I go to set everything up, and I'm using the little controller, and I had my Z just a little bit too far down when I set my X and Y before I had a Pro setter. And man, I drove it into the side of my wood and it snapped right off. And I was like so ticked. And so like I left, I went to the store, I bought another one, came back, and I did it back to back. I broke that stupid bit back to back. Same exact. I was done. After that, I was like, I'm done. I just shut down the machine, went inside, and then the next day I went and got another one. And the bad thing was it wasn't even like a paid project. I was a mentor for my son's robotics team, and so we were making robot parts on my CNC. And so I was going out and buying these tools, and then back to back, I just drove it right into my piece. It was horrible.
Right. Barry said he's tries to make a checklist for each project. The IDC Woodcraft app, which is free, all right, which has all the specs and all the data, feed rates, and that chip load calculator, but it also has, you can build your own checklist right on the app. So there you go. I'm going to bring Liberty up because I this checklist thing. Sometimes, I mean, even I don't take it seriously enough. Sometimes I get too busy. But I'm going to bring Liberty up because, you know, she Liberty's learned too the hard way that the checklist is thing. What has been some of your experience with that? You're muted.
Oh, she's muted.
There we go. Almost every single time I don't use it, it's instantly apparent in some sort of way, whether it's my X and Y is set on the wrong job preset versus my, G code, what it's telling it to do, or my Z is still set from the previous bit. And 9 times out of 10, it's when I'm frustrated, so I'm in a rush, or I'm just in a rush in general. So yeah, I was actually able to give a very good example the other day because I had a Badger to 60-degree V-bit switch. And I was like all in the X, Y, and the X and Y is all the same. I don't need to worry about any of that. I just need to switch this out. I just need to get this done, and then I'll move on to the next, and then I can get my booty out of here and go get the kid, all that good stuff that's running through your head. Never did I think about the Z. And I wasn't using the checklist because I was like, that's going to take too much time. Chuck! And instantly I dove straight into my project, and that happens just about every time. It's you can see where it's going wrong, and you're like, I didn't use the checklist. Wait, stop.
Yep. We've all done it.
So,
I did it a couple weeks ago. I had to replace 4 of my spoil board panels because I didn't follow the checklist, and it was cutouts that were so close to each other that it virtually left almost no room to hold things down.
So Garrett, you used to work in manufacturing for a long time in machine shops, right?
Thanks, Liberty. Yeah.
Thanks, Liberty. So I don't know if it was the same at like your shop, but anytime we had a job, they would always have like a router or a traveler that would go with it. And it was basically your roadmap on how to manufacture whatever part you're doing. So you'd get your router and say step 1, op 1, go to the CNC mill. Well, within that, there were setup sheets and setup notes and like checklists that you had to go through. And that router kind of held you accountable because you had to actually go in there and say, okay, yes, I did op 1. I had this many parts were scrapped, and you had to track all of that information. And over the years, I just kind of adapted that same methodology into like everything I do here, right? So on the same way, on every single program that I have on that machine, as soon as you open it up, there's a notes section that will automatically pop up, and it'll give me my checklist. And so it'll tell me my protrusion length. It'll give me all of the in-process inspection dimensions that I need to hold during production or setup or whatever. And it's really easy to think that you're too busy to set that up, but the time when you need it the most is usually when you don't have a process built out. So I just always encourage people, take the extra 10 minutes and document it. Just get it in a Word file, document whatever. And the more that you can do that, the easier it is to hand off the work for other people as you start to grow your business, right? If you grow your business and you have a system that's in place that can scale with your business at the same time, having that all
Yeah.
documented makes it way easier for training for the next guy that comes in. Because there's going to be a point where, Lord willing, if I have 5 of these machines, I'm going to need a bunch of guys in here running the machine. So I got to have all of that well defined, well documented, and I think applying even that principle to what we do as makers on our CNC machine, it makes a world of difference. It really, really does.
It totally does. Yeah. I wanted to had a thought. I just remembered it with the air weights, the vacuum table system. So I know we got the link in there, but IDC Woodcraft has a discount discount code to give you for that as well if you want to go get a vacuum system. All right. Anyway, we got off track. We got a lot of questions sitting out here. Stevie says we're using a 1/4 inch roughing bit. How much clearance should be left for the finishing pass? I leave about a 0.04 of an inch.
Yeah, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I do the same, between like 0.04 or a 16th like net size, and then I come in there with a finisher. Okay.
Yep. Okay, Mike. Love your bits, Cody. 1V carving. I feel the fine. I feel like the detail, the deeper the angle, it may require the RPM be increased since the paint is visibly spinning at the point. Sorry,
yeah,
it is visibly spinning at 0 RPM. Am I on track? Okay, so he's talking about the very point. So he's talking about surface feet per minute. It's very low surface feet per minute at the tip.
What I would do in that instance is I would look and see what the finish looks like, and if I need to increase or decrease my RPM to get the desired finish. But you're right. When you come down to a really sharp point like that, I mean, you could be spinning at 500,000 RPM, and the tip, it's like nothing, right? You're just basically rubbing at that point. But no, increasing the RPM isn't always the right answer, and that's because it might not be spinning very fast at the center, but you're spinning really fast by the time you get out 60 degree at 3/8 inch, whatever that surface feet per revolution is. I don't even remember, know, but so I would just take a look at the chips and take a look at how the finish is, and then make your adjustment as you see fit.
Yeah, and if you don't understand the surface feet per minute thing, I did a video not too long ago that talks about feeds and speeds, and actually literally demonstrated. I made a big cutout of a bit and using sawdust, and then I talk about that, the surface feet per minute. But Cody's totally right. You're getting down to that point, and that presses home maybe Gary Lynn's point of having a ball nose V bit at 30 degree or 60 degree. It's probably, make a note of that, Julianne, please, and we can address that one. Okay, Sam is saying best Jenny bit for cutting plexiglass.
I'd say the O-flute, the O-Jenny.
The O-Jenny.
So,
love the names.
Garrett, I don't think I've told you. So I have the 1/4 inch O-flute upcut.
Okay.
You have the 1/4 inch O-flute downcut. But
Okay.
I've also developed an 1/8 inch O-flute bit, and I just haven't launched it yet. So,
okay.
So I plan on launching in the next couple of weeks. But I have several tools that I've been working on, and I just haven't launched it yet because I've been so busy with everything else.
Okay.
But to answer your question, I would recommend an O-flute bit for the plexiglass.
Yep. And that would be this one right here. So as soon as that's available from Cody, it'll be online at our store too. So there it is. Yeah. And we've got, what's it say, 18 left at the IDC Woodcraft website. You get a 5% discount during today to the end of the day using Love Jenny, LUV Jenny. That's the checkout discount code, and you can grab it. How are the ladies doing in the background? I mean, we had Liberty there. They haven't had Julianne up in a little while, but they'll be coming up in a little bit. They're going to be doing a giveaway today, like we normally do. We're going to be doing a Father's Day sale. The ladies will tell you about that too. So Father's Day weekend, a little small sale, one special bit, I think, is what they've got slated. All right, so e-cabinets, tips and tricks. Do you have any experience with diamond-like coatings on your bits? No, those bits, yeah. So the DLC coating is what he's talking about, right?
Mm-hmm. I've used them. I've put DLC coating. So one thing I did experience. So I had some tools made one time, and I had that DLC coating. But one thing I didn't know. So in order to like grow the diamond onto the tooling, one, it's really expensive, but two, they actually had to take like the carbide and they would almost like put it through a chemical process where it erodes some of the like surface of the carbide to make it more porous to allow that diamond-like coating to like grow onto the tool. Well, what I experienced with that is it actually took away the sharpness on the cutting flute just because of the process in order to put the DLC coating on there. And so it'll last forever. It'll be super hard and super strong. But I realized that it didn't give me as much of a shearing action as I would like personally. And so for that reason, I went with the ZRN, but the diamond-like coating, it works really good. They've had that technology for a long time.
Yeah.
I see that a lot on aluminum when you're cutting aluminum, but they make it for wood tools too. And maybe it was just the manufacturer I had when they coated it for me. But after I had that experience, I just kind of shied away from it and stuck with the ZRN, the zirconium nitride.
I've explored that. So, we go to shows and come to companies that are providing those, and I've considered exploring that. I will explore it later on. That's like so. That's another position I want to fill is a sourcing agent, like a technical sourcing agent that understands the technology that can say, hey, I need this geometry to be done like this. So we're looking for that too, for someone who can.
You know what, Garrett? I might have been wrong in that statement too, because I think there's different types of DLC also.
Okay.
So like on the ZRN coating, I think it's only like a 2 or 3 micron buildup with the ZRN, but I do know that they make DLC coatings that are the exact same. So really, I think I would have to look more into it because it's been a really long time since I did the diamond coating or the diamond-like coating. But I don't know. I just know that when I did it, maybe it wasn't a DLC. Maybe it was an actual diamond coating that I used. That's what took away the sharpness.
Yeah, the DLC is an electroplated coating. All right, like the ZRN, right? I think what he's talking about. So the DLC coating, if it's one of those that's electroplated, it's not as heat tolerant. Put it this way: ZRN is the hardest and slipperiest and the most heat, can handle the most heat. That's why ZRN is the ZRCN is the best to use. DLC is a little bit lower.
Yeah, so it is. And the more I think about it,
keep going. You take it.
I was going to say, the more I think about it now, I was wrong. It wasn't the DLC. It was an actual diamond coating that they had to grow on the tool. The DLC and the ZRN coatings, those are very, very similar in their properties. But like you said, the ZRN is just slightly better.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, they use the ZRN coating on all the medical tools. So when they're drilling into you, they'll use the same coating when they're giving you a hip replacement.
There you go. Jeff is saying, when would you use a compression bit versus just a downcut bit?
Do you want to get this one, or do you want me to take it?
You take it. You came up with that was your first bit. That was the first Jenny bit.
So So the compression routers, they are excellent on materials that are more prone to chip out, right? So if you're cutting a bunch of Baltic birch plywood, that's where I would typically use the compression router more than anything, because what you're doing is once you get past the upcut portion and you are into the downcut portion, that's what gives you that really nice top finish as you're doing your cut. But the cool thing is as you protrude all the way through your material, the upcut portion's pulling the fibers up into your material, giving you that same like really nice finish on the bottom. So anytime you're doing a profile cut, I recommend the compression routers. You can also use compression routers when you're cutting pockets, as long as the pocket is deeper than the upcut portion on your bit. If it's not, so for example, the Jenny bit, the upcut portion is 0.1, so 100 thousandths. The minimum depth of cut required for that tool is an 1/8 inch. So if you're cutting a pocket that's a 1/16 of an inch deep, that compression router is going to act like a regular upcut bit. And so you're going to be more prone to having chip out with an upcut tool geometry. So I primarily use it on pockets that are at least an 1/8 inch deep or deeper. And then I use it on all my profile cuts. The downshear bits you can use on profile cuts and pockets. There is no minimum depth of cut on your pocket. It can be 10 thou, it can be 30 thou, it can be a 1/2 inch deep. You're still going to get that really nice finish. When you're using it to cut a profile, so like Hamilton Dilbeck, right? He uses that downshear bit for everything. He uses it for doing your profile cuts. He uses it for doing pockets. But for him, it doesn't matter if he's doing a profile cut with a downshear bit, the bottom surface of your project, you won't have as nice of a finish. You know, you can have chip out on the bottom, not as much on the top because it's supported from your spoil board. But he puts a round over on everything he does anyways. So for him, it doesn't matter. You know, he just uses the same tool for everything. But to answer your question, I use the compression router for profile cuts, especially on like Baltic birch plywood. I also use it for pockets as long as my pocket is deeper than the upcut. If I'm ever doing anything else, I usually switch to the downshear bit, especially if the pocket is like 0.1 or less on my depth. But you can use it for either one, and really it just depends on your process and how you build it out. You know, right. Hamilton doesn't like changing tools, so he does everything with one tool. So.
All right. Gary Lynn said he would be happy to be a beta tester if we come up with those ball nose V-bits.
Yeah.
Yeah, color core cutting, awesome. Alan. Yeah, color core cutting. I've only done it a couple times using an O-flute bit, and the carve came out okay. But fussed around. Oops, my screen is not taking in this whole message. There we go. But, fuzzies around the edge is that from cutting too fast or too slow? So fuzzies around the edge, that would be probably I would say that's probably the speed of the spiral that's probably causing the fuzzies on the edge with an O-flute bit. O-flute bits have a really fast spiral, so it's kind of like that, as opposed to a spiral end mill that comes around maybe half a turn or more. That would be my suggestion, thought on that. So it may be the angle, the tooth angle. I don't know. What do you say?
Yeah, it could be the helix. I think. So if you're getting a really nice finish as your bit's like coming across, but as soon as it comes to a corner and it starts to slow down before it goes the other direction, what you could be running into is your RPM might be a little bit too high, especially as you start coming into the corners, and the machine's going to slow down anyways. So I would just tweak it, and I'd play with the RPM before I would start playing with my inches per minute, because that's something you can pretty much do on the fly. But actually, now that I reread the question, card came out okay, but fuzzies around the edges.
Yeah. That might
I would
be getting a little dull too, or not having the sharpest of edge.
Yeah, it could be getting dull. So I don't cut a lot of plastic, but what I would probably do if I were like setting it up on my machine right now, I would run with slower RPM and a higher inches per minute because I want to do everything I can to prevent melting. I want to cut the chip and get the chip up and out as fast as I can. So I would maybe just play with it and see what you can kind of get. But unfortunately, I just don't have a ton of experience cutting plastic. I use my laser for everything now. So,
yeah. This comment.
So I hope that answers it.
Yeah. So for Jerry, maybe. So he's been using his Jenny bits for a few years and loves them. Saying any chance of a Canada distributor like IDC has done with Canada. So we are still building our distributorship. I'm going to bring the ladies out so they can talk about that. What the technicalities in that. I mean, so we're starting to, because the thing is with shipping across the border is a nightmare for the Canadians. So we got to get product in Canada and it can be shipped out from there. So ladies, I'm going to bring you on board because we all get involved in shipping. All of us. Cody's involved in shipping. Shipping is a major thing when it comes to business. What's
the bane of my existence? I swear, USPS hates me.
Yeah. What about the distributor for Canada? That's our Q3 objective. One of the Q3 objectives is get that done. But what do you have to do in order to make this happen?
So currently we've been running on just to kind of test it out, which it worked out well. How would you call that? Supplier type based more so. We sold him, a certain amount of bits. He sells those, asks for more. We go from there, and that's saving those customers that tariff cross, and that customs and everything. But the goal is to get all of our products over there, and then you guys, everybody, to be able to shop in the same place, and order your bits from the same place. And if you are, Canadian homed, then it'll shoot your order right over to our distributor. But all of that has to be set up on the back end. Not only do we have to set that up with the person who's distributing it, but we have to coordinate all of our supplies over there, not just the bits, but we, as you guys know, we do stickers, we do M&Ms, we do pens, we do goodies, and we want all of our customers to continuously feel all of that. And I think that's the biggest hurdle is how can we best serve you and get it over to that side and over to you with all of our love and care and all of the back end straightened out.
Yep. And then there's the inventory planning that the ladies have to do in order to make that happen. There's logistics of now we get it and then we have to forward it and we have to make sure it's all processed right. But in the meantime, CNCbits.ca is the Canadian company. They don't have all our product right now. It's Bill Keys, and he has not the Jenny bits. I don't think. Does he have Jenny's up there too?
No, he doesn't have any Jenny bits.
No. Okay. No, it's just some of the IDC Woodcraft products, but not all of them. So he's not officially with us at the moment as an official distributor, but we are still honoring the guarantee through him.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I get that question all the time too, and I want to. It's just, man, I don't have the bandwidth right now to manage all of that because inventory management, that's a big deal. Like you ladies have a lot. Like I really respect and admire what you girls do because it's hard. It's hard to keep track of all of that. And then when you're not only doing stuff in your own inventory, but you're having to manage it and then ship it to another country and then rely on the data that they're giving you also, it's just a lot to manage. So eventually I want to get there too.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff. And we can work distribution, we can talk about this offline, but we can once we have our distribution formally set up, you can channel through us. All right, we'll just distribute through. All right,
that would be awesome.
Yeah.
The only other place though that Onefinity carries some Jenny bits, but they don't carry all of them, and they're in Canada and they ship from Canada. So that is, if you just wanted to get a regular Jenny bit or like a skinny Jenny, you could get that through Onefinity. I don't know what shipping is like from that perspective, but I know that they have them available. So.
Yeah. Okay. So we're coming kind of close to the end of the night. So I'm just going to handle a couple quick questions. So folks, there's a lot of questions in the queue. Sorry we couldn't get to everybody. This is kind of the way it goes. And by the way, if you feel like you got something out of tonight, make sure you give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. We do carry the Jenny line at IDC Woodcraft YouTube, or IDCWoodcraft.com, YouTube. And you get this discount, 5% discount to the end of the night off the Jenny bits from IDC Woodcraft. So use that discount code right there. And what bit do I use for 3/32 seconds acrylic? I use the 1/8 O-flute bit. I like Cody said, it's getting thin, so that can do a lot of bouncing. Play with your feed and speed a little bit. All right, well, what else we got here? So I'm going through some of the questions that were here to handle some of the things. Cody, have you done inlays using downcut V-bit?
I haven't. I know other people that have used them and they had some good results with it. I think, man, I was just talking to somebody yesterday about it, and they tried it and they said it worked good. But I've to this day I have never personally done an inlay, so I'm really kind of relying on other people's experience and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I've been told people have used it, but I've just never done it.
Yeah, that's the spit right there. So he's the only one who's got the downcut V-bit. That's what I don't have. So I've got the knife style bits, but I don't have a down cutter. I was thinking about it and he was developing it. So it's like, why? All
well,
right.
I think we talked about it years ago. Before this was even a thing, we talked about downshift V-bits.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to tease them a little bit, ladies, about. So I've told you guys we got a new bit coming, a completely new design that you guys haven't seen, and Cody's been a part of that. So it's been a long process. You've heard us talking about it. We're getting closer and closer to getting it, but we're not going to share any details about it at this point. Just want to let you know, if you're not on the CNC Insiders list, you won't be the first to know and be the first to be able to grab it and to know about it, because the CNC Insiders, the email list for IDC Woodcraft, that's where I'm going to start making announcements on that. And yeah,
it's going to be a big deal. I'm excited.
Yeah,
for it
is. Yeah, so much work has gone in behind that. All right, what are the signs you need a new bit? Cody?
So I look at the cut quality. I look at how the finish of it. A lot of times I'll take a bit and I'll inspect it. And if you look at like the cutting flute of it, if it's like super shiny and like doesn't have that crisp, like you can see if it's going dull. You can feel if it's going dull. But a lot of times when I'd be running a tool, if I would burn it up and it turns black and it got really hot, that makes it go dull. And so I look for signs of burning on my tools. I look for a lot of that fraying. So if I'm using like the compression router and I don't have that really nice clean top edge, it could be because my bit's not really cutting it and having that nice shear action. It might be more rubbing it off than cutting it off. And you'll see that on your cuts. So that's stuff that I look for. And sound, sound is a big deal. Like you can hear when a tool is cutting good, and you can hear when your tool starts going dull and starts having problems, and it sounds like it's really trying. So there's physical and audible signs to look for.
Yep. Those are all the signs. There was one Renee asking about a link about the drag bit settings for VCarve. It's not on our website. So if you ordered a diamond drag bit from IDC Woodcraft, the settings information comes with that. But let's make a note to get that information onto the website. All right. Well, I think we need to, unfortunately, not handle the rest of the questions that are sitting in the queue, folks. We went on for an hour and 45 minutes, and the lady's got a couple things to announce, a giveaway, and then whatever we're doing for Father's Day, the little Father's Day weekend thing. So, ladies, you got the floor.
All right. We have a code for tonight, Julianne.
We do. Hold on 1 minute. And I'm going to switch off this ticker and switch on the code. Let me also share my screen. Right here. Okay. All right, you guys. You've been with us for a while. You know the drill. Stick that code in the chat. If you're new, hello, welcome. We have a lovely Wednesday giveaway that we do every single Wednesday live. The code on your screen is what you will enter exactly into the YouTube chat. So you only have to enter it once, and it will, take care of the rest.
I like Jack's suggestion.
Free stuff.
Free stuff.
Well, to be fair, this code
free
kind of
stuff.
gives away what we're giving away. So, but yeah, we'll do. We'll do 2 different drawings tonight.
Yep.
So 2 people will get these awesome
2
things.
drawings. Okay, so 2 $25 gift cards to IDC. To idcwoodcraft.com. There we go. Let's get this right, Garrett.
How many times do you think you've said that in so far in the course of IDC existing? How many times?
IDC Woodcraft. Oh my gosh. I don't think I've ever dreamed about it.
Well, there you go.
I have.
Have you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's
Do you
funny.
dream in bits?
I dream of bits. I dream of carving. I dream of being drowned in packages.
Yeah.
Never getting the permanent ink off your hands from all the notes.
Yeah. And folks, just so you know, I just got to make this let you know. We get special guests on, and on occasion, we'll get someone like Jace from Airweights. Remember what he gave away? Because he found out we did our giveaway, he decided to give away an entire vacuum system. So you never know what the giveaway is going to be. All right. What did Kevin from Carbide give? The Shipoko.
Let me look back in my notes. I can't recall. There's been so many Wednesdays since then.
Yeah. Ladies, tell what have you been up to today? What is a typical day at IDC Woodcraft?
For Liberty, it starts early.
Yeah.
So what happened today? Tell them what that would be a typical day for IDC.
This morning, our part-timer Dwayne was in, so he was handling packages. I go in, I've got a machine to get running. I'm working on a new design. I've spent about 4 hours today looking at not only some videos on what I need to do, but then dealing with emails, doing customer service, getting back with people on their broken bits or their lost packages or their file and what have you. We get quite a few phone calls a day.
So I try and catch as many of those as I can. In between all that, Julianne's glued to her desk with all of her mounds of paperwork and orders and emails and paperwork and orders and emails.
I actually did good today. I got to step out and go to the accountants with last month's stuff. So
yes,
Oh,
yes,
right.
you did. You did.
Actually
You
got away from the desk.
desk.
Yeah, so Liberty is transitioning. She is the fulfillment manager, and we got Dwayne, who's part-time help, and as he's trained up, he's going to be doing more and more of it, and Liberty's going to be doing more content creation. We're working on getting her a machine. She's been talking to folks. Call your machine company. Tell them we got a female creator who is getting online. And the lady creation space is desperate for people like her, right? So call your company and say, hey, Liberty at IDC Woodcraft is looking for a machine. She's making content. Aren't you going to send her one? Call them. Make contact. All right, she's already had contact from a few people. All right, so this is a $25 gift card we're giving away.
Yep.
All right.
What are we at? Something?
185 so far. And I'm going to go ahead and do our first drawing.
All right.
All right. Let's see what we got.
Corey.
Wait for
go.
that confetti. All right.
Joe!
Go.
Joe!
Awesome. Congrats.
Hold on. Let me get this last name written down. We'll be good.
Congratulations, Joe.
All righty.
I just like seeing my name go by.
Yeah.
I know. I entered one time and everybody was yelling at me.
Oh, really? I should do it just to see.
It's
All
always
right.
fun.
Hang with us, Joe. We're going to draw our next person really quickly, and then we'll tell you how to get your gift card.
Look at Joe. He's put his little comment in there.
Congrats, Joe.
All right. Who do we got next for another $25 gift card? Paul Wheeler.
Wheeler.
Woohoo! Paul.
It's awesome.
Paul.
Congrats.
Awesome. All right. All right, guys. So what you're going to do is head over to idcwoodcraft.com, find that contact us page, put in your name, Wednesday winner, your email, and actually, since it's a gift card, I don't necessarily need any other information from you
Yeah.
as of right now. But if you want to give me your address, then that's perfectly fine. I'll collect it. So,
All right. Super cool. Yeah. It's always fun.
Good job. Congrats. That's awesome.
Go
I
ahead,
can't
Cody.
celebrate sometimes
Congratulations
because I'm
to
writing.
your winners. Yeah. I'm excited to see
Yep.
what you guys decide to spend that on.
We'll load you up with M&Ms regardless of whatever you get.
Yep.
There you go.
Any plans for a 120-degree V-bit? We got one. We got a 150-degree V-bit.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, literally.
It's like,
like
yeah.
almost flat.
It's a wide.
Yeah. Next, I'll get a 180-degree V-bit.
There you go.
Like that.
All right. So, what is our Father's Day weekend thing that we're doing? What is? So it's going to be Saturday and Sunday, right?
Yep. Well, we kind of hit Flag Day on Saturday, and so we have Father's Day on Sunday. We are doing a buy one, get one half off of a. Oh gosh, I just blanked. I'm so sorry. I'm trying
Eighth-inch
to.
drill bit.
Yes, 1/8-inch drill bit. I handled 1/8-inch down cut earlier, so that's why I was like,
Yep.
so drill bit, 1/8-inch drill bit. Buy one,
Okay.
get one half off.
Garrett's
So-
about to show it off.
All right. I'm looking for the drill bit. So, I'm I don't like the term drill bit when we talk about our drill bit because it is. We've had this designed. It's solid carbide. and I'll bring it up. So it's that guy right there. It's an 1/8 inch for your cribbage board makers, and so we've had special bevels put on that thing so that it can handle the workload at a high speed and a high feed rate. So you can run this bit at 15 to 17,000 RPMs, and the feed rate is 60 inches per minute, I believe, without pecking. So you can have every one of your cribbage holes drilled, one drill hole per second without pecking. It's a super, super fast drill bit.
Yeah, that's a big deal on cribbage boards.
Yeah, that's why I came up with that. And then we got a 1/4 inch as well.
Yeah,
I
get rid of
was
that
so
pecking-
scared as
pecking
it was
tool path.
running on.
When you
Sorry,
made yours?
Cody.
No, I was just saying, just getting rid of the pecking drill tool path. Like that's a big deal.
It is. That's an annoying toolpath for sure because I accidentally didn't switch systems over whenever I first used the drill bit on the on a cribbage board, and so it first started pecking, and I was like, "That's what we normally have to do." Wait, what does it normally do then? So then I reworked everything and restarted it, and then I was literally like, I was almost scared watching because I'm like, this is going to do something very bad. And no, it shoots everything out well. It's efficient, it's quick, and it's very satisfying.
Yeah, it's got
I
good.
I remember years ago I was using it was one of the free softwares. I don't remember exactly what it was, but they had this add-on for drilling holes, and they would do the pecking for you. Well, when you set up your project, I have my Z0 was the top of the part, and then I think I had like an inch safety zone above the wood because I had clamps on there. Well, it started the pecking 1 inch above the part. So it would start like pecking way up here and take forever to drill my hole. I was like, oh my gosh, it killed me.
Oh.
All right.
It was the worst ever. I hate drilling.
Yep. Remember, 5% off of the IDC Woodcraft website for the Jenny bits up until midnight tonight Eastern Standard Time. So Ian was saying, is that 5% via IDC or Cody? So it's at idcwoodcraft.com. And next week we have Kyle, right?
Yes.
If you work with the Vectric software, he is the expert in Vectric.
Yeah.
So make sure you have Vectric questions come on next Wednesday. And also, I forgot to say it when Andy Bird was on, right? So he had me on his show a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And we're going back on. He's bringing all the people he had on in this quarter. And so he's bringing them all back on. So when is that?
That's the 26th, and that is a Thursday. That happens at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Okay. All right. 26th. And G-Sender will be, that new update will be the 18th, next Wednesday. Cody, my brother, I can't wait to come out there and see ya.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We'll have you play around in 120-degree weather.
Yep, for sure. Yep, and then so we'll be filming how we're making bits, and then we'll go over to the plating company and talk to them. Cody, thanks for coming on board, folks. Sorry we did not get to all the questions there. Do our best, but we'd like to deep dive. If you feel you get some value out of this, we would love for you to leave a review on the Google review for IDC Woodcraft. If you feel like we do give you value, then 5-star review would be awesome. And remember, that's the discount code right there. Love Jenny till midnight, 5% off the Jenny pits. Cody, thank you for spending another couple hours with us.
Thanks for putting up with me. I love coming on here and visiting with you guys, and it means a lot. Thank you for having me. Truly.
Yep. And when we're out there, maybe we'll do a special live. If we're out there on a Wednesday, then we will definitely do the live with you. And if it's not Wednesday, if it's a different day, then we'll just come on, pop on live. We'll come up with something.
Just let me know. I'm pretty flexible, so we can make it work.
All
We'll
right.
rearrange the whole shot for you if we need to.
All right. All right, folks, we're going to check out for the evening. Thank you for hanging with us. Next week, Kyle Ely, Vectric expert. Bring your Vectric questions. Get your 5% discount tonight, and we will see you next Wednesday. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see ya.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.